Apple's California streaming event has wrapped up. We've had a little bit of time to digest some of the new products, some of the new information that Apple presented to us. I'm Beth Motter here with Matt Miller and Jason Cipriani. Guys, yesterday we saw the A13 Bionic chip, first look at iOS 15, the new iPhone 13, a lot of other different features. Let's start with you, Matt. What is something you're most excited about from yesterday's Apple announcements?
I know they showed off all kinds of things, but to be honest, I'm just excited that I could go back to the smaller iPhone 13 Pro and not compromise on cameras or anything. I can just pick it because I like the size. In the past, I've bought in the bigger ones and I have big hands and stuff, but I still just love the way the smaller one fit into my jeans pockets and shorts pockets and stuff. And now I don't have to worry about the cameras. It's just a size difference and a little bit of a battery difference. And I can choose the Pro instead of the Pro Max.
It's a very simple it was something very simple you're looking forward to, but I like it. Jason, what are you super excited about?
Yeah, I think the new video features on all four models of the iPhone 13, which is a big plus this year. I guess that they're bringing this feature to all of them because normally, in my mind, the cinematic video would be more of a pro feature.
Yeah.
But so in videos now, they basically have developed portrait mode, but for videos, and meaning that the subject is very clear and crisp and the background is blurry. And then the device itself, if like the subject looks away, according to the demo and what Apple said, if the subject looks away behind them, it'll automatically reverse that and the person will become blurry and the background will become very clear. And this is a very cinematic shot, not to use the same term as what they're calling the feature, but this is something you see in movies all the time where focus shifts within a scene on different aspects. And it's something I've always, from being a little kid, and this is going to sound really cheesy, I've always loved that aspect of movies when they do that because it definitely draws your attention to other places. And now being able to have that in a phone, I'm ecstatic to be able to use that and try it out. I hope it works as good as what they showed yesterday, and it's not like portrait mode was for the first couple of years where it wasn't properly identifying, hair or other objects in the background. And I hope it works, just like they showed.
And it seemed like, Jason, that you were able to even add some of those elements and do some of that after you captured the video too, which is pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go back and edit and adjust where the focus was put, kind of like you can with more portrait mode now in adjusting the amount of blur. But there is a gotcha with all of this, and that is that cinematic video is limited to 1080p. So you're not going to be able to record this in 4K at all, which is kind of a disappointment. Most people have some sort of 4K device or screen around the home now, I would imagine. And so not being able to record that quality of video with that effect is a little bit of a letdown, but hey, 1080p is, pretty good as well.
Right.
Yeah, 1080p is better than a lot of other functions we're still seeing
Right.
at this point. And that rack focus thing, as someone who went to school and did some of that, that was definitely something you had to master on some type of camera. And so now to be able just to very easily do it on your iPhone device right in your hand, it's a big step up for technology for it to be that simple. So
Hey, Beth,
switching,
one other thing
yeah,
I'm excited about that I should have
yeah,
mentioned is on the 13 and the 13 mini, they start at 128 gigs storage.
Yes.
I've always
hmm
been, I've always hated the, 32 or 64 option. And now we start at 128, which probably will meet most people's needs. And I'm very happy for that. Not forced to pay a extra fee just to get something that's not going to fill up on them in several months. So I'm happy about that too.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but it goes up to a terabyte now as well, correct?
For the Pro models, yeah, Pro and
For
Pro
the Pro.
Max go up to
Okay.
1 terabyte, whereas I think the Mini and the standard 13 are 128, 256, 512. So
hmm
still plenty of storage options.
hmm
The Pro models offer all three of those with the addition of 1 terabyte, which is, if you're going to be recording all this video, and there is a new
Exactly.
ProRes video option as well, where it records instead of Dolby Vision video, it records ProRes, which is Apple's own spin on that video. which by the way, if you have a 128 gig iPhone Pro, you don't get to record ProRes video at all, which
Oh,
is
okay. There's a difference.
very weird. So you would have to buy a 256 gig model. But yeah, so 1 TB is going to fill up pretty fast if you're recording very high quality video at that ProRes level.
Yeah. Yeah, for all of the video enhancements they showed yesterday, adding in that 1 TB option definitely made sense. Switching a little bit from the iPhones, we saw the iPad, specifically the iPad mini. As we were going through, who would use an iPad mini? I know they show doctors and people who need to like put it in their pockets, take it out quickly. What?
Matt, I think you've messed around with iPad minis a lot more than I have, right? You recently had one, didn't you?
I did. I used to buy them. They don't come out that often. They did in the beginning, but I don't even know what generation this one is. Probably only 5th or something, or 4th.
I think it's 5th. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to have them quite a bit, but that was also back when I had a lot of smaller phones, right? And I mean, for somebody like me who just bought the Z Fold 3, there's no reason for an iPad mini. I mean, the screen size isn't that much different, but I don't know. I suppose if you buy the iPad or the iPhone mini and you just like a super small phone, that might be a place for the iPad mini, but it's a tough market. And we haven't seen the release for a while for this, but I don't know. It's a kind of a strange fit, and I'm sure there'll be a few fans. There's always those few fans, but I don't know if it's going to be a big seller or not.
I think based on the design alone, which now has adopted the flat edge design like the iPad Air and iPad Pro have. In fact, it has the Touch ID. They're calling it, instead of a side button now, they're calling it a top button. Touch ID is built into the sleep wake button on the iPad mini now. It's, the home button is gone. It doesn't have Face ID, so you can unlock it using that sleep wake button. But based on the design, there's a few clues, I think, into who Apple believes uses this. And my biggest takeaway is there's not a smart connector on this, and there's not an Apple first party keyboard for the iPad mini, which, when you take a step back and think about it, makes sense because the display is pretty small. Not many people are going to sit down at a desk and write on an iPad mini, or I wouldn't think so, at least. But not having a smart connector to even have the option of having that kind of keyboard connection like the other iPads do, including the base model iPad, which also got a refresh yesterday, it kind of feels like, with Apple Pencil support, this is either a creative device for people who write and draw quite a bit, or it's a consumption device, whether it's a Kindle replacement, or you're watching videos on it all day long, or whatever that is. It's not what the other iPads are, if that makes sense. And to me, like, I have an iPad Pro. I work and live on that iPad Pro most of the time. I use my iPhone, but my 12.9-inch iPad Pro isn't something I want to sit on the couch with and go through Twitter or whatever. It's just too big, and it's not good as a tablet on its own and for my use. But the iPad mini kind of fits the middle between the iPhone 12 Pro with its 6.1-inch display and the 12.9-inch of the iPad Pro. Maybe that's the market, a secondary iPad. I don't know. At $500 though, it's an expensive secondary tablet. I don't know. I'm really excited to check one out and see, kind of where it fits into my workflow. Hopefully I'll be getting one here soon. And we'll see how it works out. But I'm really excited to see, I guess here's what I'm excited about with the iPads more than anything, is that center stage, the front facing camera feature is now across the lineup, and except for the iPad Air. It's the only one. So for those who don't know, center stage follows you around. It has a wide angle camera, and it follows you around the room, or if there are more than one person in the room, it'll zoom in or zoom out to make sure everyone's in the frame. The other night I held a video call with family, and my entire family, all 5 of us, sat on 2 different couches, and I set up the iPad, and all 5 of us were in the frame. At one point, the dog walked by and zoomed out to make sure the dog was in the frame. And it just made it really easy to hold a video call, especially, during all this that we have going on, and have everyone be part of it and not have to, move it around.
It'll be interesting to see what people think between the new entry-level iPad and the iPad mini, because that entry-level iPad, I mean, It starts at like 329 or 389
Right.
or something.
329. Yeah.
Yeah, and that has all the features you're talking about with the keyboard support and Apple Pencil,
Exactly.
and now it's older generation Apple Pencil, all this and that. But when you're looking at like, okay, I want a tablet just to watch movies and stuff. Well, why wouldn't I just get the 300 and something dollar iPad versus iPad Mini? It's going to be an interesting to see how people make that choice between the Mini.
Yeah,
You
I think
know,
there has to be
and
very
the regular
specific
iPad.
use cases to go mini over the base model iPad, just because that $170 difference in price.
Yeah,
It just is. Yeah, I need to figure out who the mini is for, and hopefully that happens.
right.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so switching from iPad to the watch. A lot of the leaks really showed a new design, this whole it was almost a little underwhelming, except the battery life really seems to stand out for the Apple Watch this go around.
Yeah, and Apple still touts, so the size of the watch goes from 40 and 44 millimeters to 41 and 45 millimeters. Has a different display on top that's supposed to be more rugged. And the screen size jumped by almost 20%, I think. So it's a lot bigger display. But the battery life Apple still touts as 18 hours. But where they made a big improvement, according to what they announced, is in charging speed. So one of the issues I have with the Series 6 and any series before that, since they introduced sleep tracking, has been making sure I have enough charge in order to go to bed and the watch lasts through the night. And usually in Apple built into the software, you can get an alert before you go to bed. If you have sleep tracking enabled, that'll let you know, hey, it's time to put your watch on the charger. By the time you go to bed, it'll have enough to get through the night. Well, now with the new charging stuff, 8 minutes, I think they said, will give you 8 hours of sleep tracking, which I sleep under 8 hours. So that's more than enough for me. So that's a huge plus.
Yeah.
And then the new USB-C to Apple Watch magnetic charger will charge 80% in 45 minutes, which is a lot faster than what the Series 6 charges now. So I think the improvements are just strictly in how fast it charges, according to everything they announced. But one thing we don't know about the Series 7 is when it's going to launch. They unveiled it, but they just said it's coming out this fall with no hint of anything.
Right. I think that's important what you're saying though about the ability to charge, because I'm testing the Galaxy Watch 4 right now, and it's about the same as an Apple Watch. It'll get you through a day, but not the day and then the night of sleep. You wake up the next day, it's dead, right? So it's really important that physics, it requires that they're not going to be able to give you an outstanding, crazy multi-day battery. There's just too much going on, and there's too much, you only have so much size. So smartly figuring out when can somebody charge that and how fast can they charge it, right? You're in the shower, charge it up. Maybe they'll get you what you need to get through the day or something like that. And coming up with a charging strategy and a way to manage that, I think, is the smart approach to solving that problem.
Yeah, for the longest time, I quit tracking my sleep because I'd have to put it on the charger an hour or two before bed. Well, then I lose an hour or two of activity tracking, my standing hours and all those metrics that to close your rings, which is a huge deal if you're an Apple Watch user. I would lose out on that. And so I quit tracking my sleep because I didn't like it. Well, now with this, in 8 minutes, I've brushed my teeth and got ready for bed, and now I'm ready to track. And then in the morning while I'm getting ready, it should be fully charged by the time I'm ready. So I really like that they took a new approach to solving this battery life issue. Instead of making the watch huge to make more room for a battery, faster charging makes a ton of sense.
Like Beth mentioned, though, I was actually really excited when I saw the more square design that matches the new iPhones and things. And I was like, oh, yeah, a form factor change. Maybe I'll get back in there. But I was a little disappointed to see kind of the same thing. There's a kind of a different color green in there now and things like that. But I was like, not quite where I wanted to go with it.
I think there's even a blue model this year, which is kind of crazy.
It's a different blue, too, I think. I think it's a changed up blue.
Yeah.
One thing I did like about getting that bigger screen is now when you're texting from your watch, it'll pop up a keyboard, which is really nice because a lot of times when I don't have my phone nearby and I need to respond, I'm usually at the gym or something. And so trying to talk into my watch and trying to answer is a little bit embarrassing because, people are like, what is she talking about? Like whatever. But I did like that. And it has the swipe to text now as well with that little bit bigger screen.
Yeah, it's interesting because they just kicked the only keyboard app out of the App Store. Apple did. There was a watch keyboard app, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. I was just reading about it again this morning because they have now sued Apple. Actually, they did when they got kicked out. But this keyboard app had been in the App Store for a couple of years, and you could, I think it was called Flick Type. You could type on your wrist and send a message, and they kicked them out about a month ago. And now they unveil a bigger watch with Apple's own first-party keyboard on it. So the timing of that is a little suspect, but yes, I am excited for there to be a full keyboard on there. The scribble feature, I have mastered, or it has mastered my horrible handwriting, and I've gotten pretty good at it, or the software's gotten better. I don't know, but the keyboard's going to help out a lot, I think.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for breaking all of this down. As always, we're going to have links below to the products. Like we said, some are going to be available next week, sometime in the fall. We'll see, but you can go below and check out all of these products. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and stick with ZDNet for all things Apple.